My name is Jake Slichter, and I'm a drummer, and I'm an out-of-town member of St. Gregory's Church, and we're going to talk tonight about drumming in a way that helps support the music and liturgical dance that we do here at St. Gregory's.
I want to start off by saying something about drumming, which is that it's primarily about giving the music shape. Drums have a unique ability to give shape to the music. They have, if done right, if the drumming gives the music the right shape, it really comes to life in a really special way. If drumming creates the wrong shape, it can really shut things down. In fact, drums are uniquely able to really ruin the music, as much as they are uniquely able to really bring it alive. So we have to remember that. In terms of thinking about shape, think of it this way. Think of the music as a river. And what we're doing as drummers is shaping the riverbed. Okay? We can make the river, go like that. We can make it go like that. We can create sort of shallow bits on the edge of the river where the water ripples like that and the light bounces off. So we can do all kinds of things to it by shaping the riverbed. These are the tools with which we do our shaping. So we've got these guys, like big diggers. They move a lot of earth very quickly. And they make a big sound. We cover the gambit from moving a lot of water to moving, less water. All the way up here to something that, scattering rocks along the shallow parts of things, making smaller effects. One thing, pass up some sheets here. Everybody, some folks behind you. Everybody got one? Look where it says bigger sounds and smaller sounds. Okay? One thing to just keep in mind when we're doing this, when we're creating a shape, it's not that there's necessarily always the answers are never the right answer is never the same answer from piece of music to piece of music. You just need to understand the trade-offs, right? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So bigger sounds make waves, smaller sounds make ripples. The big sounds can step on the small sounds, which is something to think about when everybody grabs something for the tripudium. If the person on this drum is right, the person with this guy is kind of great. As are all the people who are doing the singing, right? These big things, the bigger the sound, listen how long that lasts, right? You have to take that into account when you think about how busy you can get with this guy. Because the busier you get with this drum, you're starting to now, you're having to work with that reverberation. It's not so much an issue with this guy over here. Right? Okay. Motion on a big sound is going to be more intrusive. You can create a lot of motion with this without getting in anybody's way. It's just like I said, on the edge of the river, we see these little things. You can make motion with this, but you got to look out because you can really hurt someone, right? This is like a big caterpillar tractor. Okay, you can dig and move and roll really quick with it, but pass your driver's test first before you start getting up over, going too fast. The big sounds make great fundamental rhythms, right? Because remember, they're easier to work if you go slow with them because of the issue of the reverberation and how much space they take up, right? The smaller thing, like the sistra, or the tambourine, or the finger cymbals, or whatever, can adorn the sort of basic thing that you're laying down with a bigger sound. So we're going to be talking about all this stuff. Let's, one final thing I want to say before moving on is, remember that rarely do you really want to see more riverbed than river, right? I mean, the river is the singing and also kind of the dancing, which becomes part of the music. We don't want to overwhelm that. In fact, really we want to be a supportive element. We don't want to be a dominating element. There's fun moments maybe when you become a dominating moment, a dominating presence. But you really have to watch that, right? So let's keep that in mind, that we're the riverbed. So we're changing the riverbed. We want our work really to be sort of more subliminal than overt. So I'm going to pass out. Everybody come on out here and grab whatever you want. Mine is in here. And just grab any old instrument. We'll trade around. The decision you make now doesn't make a difference till later. Someone just grab that thing over there. You need more help. There's a tambourine right up there. Alright, so now everybody, I'm going to pass out this music. It's going to be a little tricky to do, actually. Let's stand or at the altar. We're going to affirm a foundation. Okay, first we're not even going to play, right? We're going to keep our instruments silent. We're just going to sing the hymn together. Okay? Sound good? Music to read. Affirm a foundation. Okay. The melody is in tenor. You guys know what that is? It's in the bottom system, that upper line and the bottom system throughout. Okay, here we go. Play whatever you've got on every syllable. Okay? Let's just do that. Let's see what that's like. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Shake something. Okay. All right, you ready? Here we go. How this is like going down a river where you just can't get that boat straight, right? And you just keep hitting something. Remember when we sang it without the drums, there was this wonderful sense of sort of, seeing the whole thing. And now you're getting bombarded, right, with information, with obstacles right and left, correct? Okay, so now let's do, we're going to do a little bit of a modification. Anybody with a drum? You're going to go loud, soft, loud, soft. And let's try and get a good ratio of riverbed to river here. So we've got a lot more drums per singer than we would on a regular Sunday. So we have to accommodate for that, right? Okay. So the drums go You guys. Okay. Now you have something else. You have a shaker. These are sistra. The sistra are harder to sort of make work in faster motion. So you guys can go, how firm a foundation, you saints of the Lord. Okay? People with shakers like that, and like that, and like that, and like that, very quietly, can you go, chick, 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 chick. Good. Or also, sometimes if you have something you can get a little more control if you smack your hands. Okay, so now let's try that again. Let's try that with our new. Oh, you have that. How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid. Okay. And what do you have? You go with these guys. Okay. So you're going to go how, and just hit the little, put the big one up here for now. Or in fact, let's give you this for now, just to keep it a little simpler in terms of the timbral spectrum. Okay, so you're going to go how firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord. You got that? Okay. So let's try that. Ready? How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid for your good in God's excellent word. What more can you say than to you he has sent, to you that for refuge to Jesus has sent. Okay, so that's a little bit more of an accommodating shape than we said, correct? Okay. One thing we've tried to do, by the way, we have a lot of timbral diversity here. We have drums, and we have sort of metal things, and then we have sort of seed, sort of pebbly things, and we have these guys, we've got the cymbals. So we're trying to sort of play with the arrangement so that each thing can have its little space. If you do that right, really add dimension to it. Whereas, for instance, if everybody just grabbed a drum, it's really, first of all, hard to sort of carve out your own little niche, right? And it also sort of compresses the sense of dimension. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we're going to do another version. No drums. People with you can sit out this one, and you guys, and you, we're going to go like this. How firm a foundation, ye saints. Ready? 2, 3, here. How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord. Let's try it again. Go on the offbeats if you can. So it's how firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid for your faith in God's excellent word. What more can you say than to you he has said, to you that for refuge to Jesus has led. Okay, so I want to make an observation about that. On the one hand, it's a kind of a simple rhythm. It's just every offbeat, but it adds a lot of complexity, right? It's emphasizing the offbeats, which are not really sort of emphasized in the sort of natural feel of the music. So it makes it interesting. I don't know that we necessarily would focus, however, so much on the meaning and the mood of the music, if we heard that, as we might be sort of like dazzled by the interestingness of the offbeat pattern, right? May I borrow that drum for a second? Here, try singing. Everybody lay out and sing again. 2, 3. How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid for your faith. Notice how intrusive that was, right? I was playing 3 against 2. That's very interesting. It's very interesting. Beware of interesting. Right? We're not trying to create something to interest us. We're trying to do something that brings the music alive for everybody, including us, right? And part of what you have to do as a drummer is to clue in to how everybody is reacting to it and enjoy that. You might be having a very simple part, which might bore you, but you can't be focused on how easy it is to do your task. You have to be able to take pleasure in the shape that you're creating for the music. Does that make sense? Okay. So, let me see where we are at in this business. The next thing we're going to do...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
When I'm drumming, I tend to be more focusing on the movement, the dance part, rather than the music.
We're about to do exactly that, so that's the perfect question to ask. Let us... let's take the... there's another piece of music here. Now what we're gonna do, because it's hard to play the drums and hold the music at the same time, we're gonna have to divide up. So half of us are gonna be devoted to singing, while the other half play the drums, and then we'll switch. How's that sound? Okay, so half of you can volunteer for singing duty, which makes you most valuable drummers, because we have too many drummers for our singing crew here. So we're gonna sing Rock of Ages, okay? And then, but now everybody can't sing because we're going to have to. So I'll tell you what, let's for now, in fact, we're going to need, let's sing through this, okay? In fact, let's line up so we can do the step to this. We're going to do the tripudium step, right? The right, left, right, back. Everybody knows that one, right? Okay. So let's line up. You can put the drums down. You can put your instruments down. Let's just line up. And someone's got to be, we don't have to all be connected, right? Someone can be good, perfect. We have an idea of where this melody is. Maybe okay. Everybody want to sing in harmony? Sound good? Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel.
Is one verse with a melody and the next one in harmony.
You're right, but in the interest of time, that's how we usually do it at St. Gregory's. In the interest of time, I want us sing verse 1, break tradition tonight, and sing verse 1 in step with 4/4 harmony, okay? So let's first just get the step going, all right? It's right, not left, right, and back. We're doing the tripudium step. Tripudium step, okay? Here we go, starting again. It's right, left, right, and back. Right, left, right. Daniel, can you give us the pitch of the melody? The step adds a shape of its own, right? In fact, let's do this. Let's start a different step. Let's go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, okay? Let's get going with that step first. Right. Okay, now let's, and ready, and sing. Rock of Ages, follow me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the a shape to it, all of which we want to reinforce. Notice that the singing brings us together. The dancing brings us together. The dancing also emboldens the singing, gives it a sort of forward momentum. It also challenges the singing because you got to keep track of that nasty step backwards, which even if you've come here for years can throw you off, right? But that little step backwards is kind of a cool little brain tickle, right? I mean, I don't know if you've ever had the experience at St. Gregory's, but you know, you're like, wow, we're singing and we're dancing, and how are we doing it? But this is really cool. It's like, if I think about what I'm doing, I'm going to fall down. It's really great, right? Okay. So that little space in your brain is really important. We don't want to encroach on that with the drums, right? That's where all the fun is. That's not just fun. There's a sort of spiritual experience that happens that way. We don't want to get in the way of it. So let's do this. I need someone to play this drum, someone to play a drum like that, and who is a reasonably, I'll bet, Ashia. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a drum pattern that reinforces the shape of the step. Okay, it's very simple. Your part. Let's start going with the step. Okay, let's join up here. We're going to do the tripudium step, right, left, right, back. Okay. No, well, just for now, we'll do it with this. So let's go. Right, left, right, and back. Right, left, right. Okay, now the big drum is going to go boom, and boom, and the small drum goes boom, 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 and the tambourine goes nearly 14, thank you. Okay, now, has everybody got some music? Let's sing This Joyful Easter Tide with no drums, okay? Now, we're going to just find something out here. Da, 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 da. Okay, and we're going to do the tripudium step to it. Okay, so let's get the step going again. Right, left, right, and back. Right, two, and here. This joyful Easter tide, away with sin and sorrow. My love, the crucified, has brought to life this morrow. At Christ that once was slain, never to three day prison. Our faith bars long. But each phrase is 5 bars long. And each verse is 25 bars long. So your right, left, back, that part of your brain is like working the abacus and going, step back, step forward, right? Okay, so we're going to use that same thing that we just did. Okay, you guys remember your parts? Okay, now we're going to try it again with this. And your
You
job,
want me to sing while I'm drumming, I guess?
if you can, once you pick up the drum, however, that's a good question, because once you pick up the drum, you're taking responsibility for what happens with that drum. The drum can create more damage than it, right?
I usually don't sing.
Okay, so good. So that's great. If that's what you do, that's great, because it helps you listen. It helps you pay attention. So, so good. Your job, percussionists, is to support us and help us guide our way through the right, left, right, back shape of this thing, right? Okay. All right. So let's get the step going with the drums first. Okay. And right, left, right, right, left, right, check, right. Down, okay. Okay, I'm gonna go here, right, it's joyful Easter time, away with sin and sorrow, my love crucified, has come to life its cause, and Christ that once was slain, their first is 3-day prison, darkness that did in chains, and now is Christ arisen, 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 going, let what lost is true, since Jesus was conquered. Thank you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that little... Sorry. Well, that's okay. But it was tricky. I mean, and you have to think about that as you're thinking about how busy you're going to get with the drum. It's hard enough to just do something simple. I mean, it's hard enough to sing and dance and not even play the drums, right? And then to just remember to do one thing, it's hard, right? So,
Especially when it's following phrasing of music.
exactly, right. So the phrasing of the music and the shape of the step kind of rub up against each other. And you guys are sort of helping us stay on track with our feet as we navigate this with our eyes and read the words and all that stuff and figure out harmony parts and all that complex stuff. You really want to be aware of how cognitively challenging it is to do the singing and the dancing. And so that the drums really have to be there to help that. They can't be there to entertain us. They can't be there to show how interesting you are or anything else. They're there to support this wonderful process of being together and singing and moving as one big thing. Okay, so now there's an even more complicated step that we do at Easter, which is Come Ye Faithful. So let's okay, people who drummed that time, take a break this time. And let me get, okay, so we need someone to play the big drum. Who will play the big drum? You got it, okay. Who can play a small drum? Okay, you play the small drum. Okay. Who wants to play the tambourine and or one of these guys?
Do I use a banjo in hand?
Pietro's got it. Okay, great. I'll play this. Who wants to play the finger tune?
I do.
Then Michelle. Okay, now, Come Ye Faithful is in the books here. It's the last, I think it's like the last hymn. 30, okay. So now let's refresh our memory on the step here. Okay, so it goes right and right, left and left, right, in, together, back, left, together. shape of the dancing, okay? So, who's got the big foot? Javier. Okay, so, and you go. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Right, let's do the step. We'll teach the part as we do the step, okay? So it goes right and right, left and left, right, in, together, back, left, together, right, boom, boom. Exactly. Okay, who's got this moment? Okay, so here we go. Boom. Okay. Well, you can stand to the side of the drum, or you can hand the drum off to the preferred hand. Okay, go. Right here. Boom. Right. That's right. Okay, now we've got the keep on. Boom. Okay, who's got that finger circle? So we're gonna go. Okay, keep going. Boom. That's okay. Don't worry. Boom. Boom. Keep going. Boom. Boom. Ready, set. Okay, great. Now, one thing you'll notice also about this this particular song has a little bit of a tongue twister section. The third phrase, the step, 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 in together, all that stuff goes against the. It's like a polyrhythm against the, or it's a syncopation against the melody, right? So it's like, whoa! That part is always a little weird, right? So one thing this means is, if you're going to do, one thing that would really pay off is if drummers at St. Gregory's got together before the service and looked at the hymn for the day and put their heads together and said, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? Hey Sanford, what's the dance step that we're doing to this thing? Okay, let's huddle up, guys, and figure out a rhythmic shape that goes with the dance step. Okay? Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Instead of, I want to drum, you know, if you're playing and we don't have a lot of people here, I think I'll sit this one out. We'll just, you know, because it's going to get too loud or whatever. Or I'm going to play a drum. Okay, if you're playing a drum, I'll play a shaker. Or this song doesn't really want a shaker. Maybe it wants a finger cymbal. I don't know. But it requires a little, it could really profit from a little bit of huddling up ahead of time. Right? Does it make sense? Okay. Now, as I can tell that these patterns are, you know, they're challenging, especially with these weird dance steps like Can Be Faithful. Let's do a familiar dance step, and let's sing this song that we're going to sing this Sunday. Open your ears, O faithful people. You guys know that? Yes. This one is really like, there's some songs that you just don't want to drum on. Thou hallowed chosen morn of praise. I think Easter musical. Anybody playing drums on that one ought to be wheeled out the door. Okay. Now we're gonna. Everybody got it? Almost. Do you have it? Okay. Everybody who's got a drum, put down the drum, and we're gonna start again with just the music and the dancing. Okay. Okay, now this is the familiar carol dance step at St. Gregory. So let's just refresh our memory. It goes right, left behind, right, left in front, right, left knee up and down, right knee up and right, left behind, right, left in front, right, left knee up and down, right knee up and
Open your ears and hear God's word. Open your hearts, O royal priesthood. God has come to you. God has spoken to the people. Hallelujah. And the words are words of wisdom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God has spoken to the people. Hallelujah. And the words are words of wisdom. Hallelujah.
Okay, great. Perfect. Now we get music here. I'm sort of throwing some things that I sort of planned out ahead of time at you guys, and you know, you can the day of resurrection. There we go. Great. Okay. So, who wants to play the big drum? Big drum is actually easier if you can hold it. Anybody? Javier? You do it? Okay. You take a big drum. Either one. We need someone who feels especially sassy. Okay. What do you mean by that? Okay. Well, no. Okay, I mean, who can do this? Okay, these small sounds, right? The busier parts. Actually, let's talk about something for a second. I can just, it's on those sheets that I handed out. You can look at them later. There are sparse parts, and then there are busier parts, right? Some instruments are playing fewer things, some other instruments are doing a lot more, okay? It's important to understand the difference between how some of the differences between these. For instance, sparser parts make a less decisive impact on tempo, okay? For instance, do you guys remember the words to How Firm a Foundation? Okay, so I'm going to play this drum as we sing How Firm a Foundation, and just go along. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. How sparse parts. Okay, now with this guy, sing the same thing. 2, 3.
How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, it is laid for your praise. In His excellent word, what more can we say than to you He has sent, to you that more refuge to Jesus has led.
Right, so this guy fills in the dots more, right? You have a more decisive impact on tempo, which means if you're doing a busier part, you have to have a steadier hand. Because what's really hard is how firm a foundation, right? Get a metronome and practice with it. Because it's really hard. It's hard to sing and dance on its own. And then when you add in something that looks pretty simple, it gets pretty hard pretty quick. So that's one thing to take note of with the busier parts. Busy parts absorb more of your focus. Okay, so they're exponentially harder than the sparse parts because not only do they absorb more of your focus on this, that makes it all the more hard to focus on this, right? Okay, it's exponentially harder to focus on that when you're really concentrating here. So the difference between a sparse part and a busy part is actually more than it first appears to be. Does that make sense? Okay. Sparser parts enlarge the scale. Remember when we had Paul doing his finger symbols just, once every phrase? Having a less frequent part gives us a sense of perspective, because there's a thing that occurs only once per phrase, as opposed to the thing that's always there. And it's there for a reason, it's doing a good thing. But it's nice to have, if it's just this, it feels a little small. And if it's, just this, right? Create something bigger, which is something to think about. And especially if you're the person playing this, there's a temptation to think, great. I look really dumb. A chimp could do this, But the fact is that you're playing a really important part. You're creating that one moment that only comes every 4 bars or every 8 bars or whatever. So your one note actually takes on huge importance because you're adding perspective to the size of things. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So back to open your ears. So someone has a big drum. I need, who can do this? You can do that? I'll do it with you. Who can, thank you. Who wants to play the tambourine? You got it, okay. Who wants to, Javier? Yeah, we got a job here. All right. Where are the claviers? Anybody see them? Claviers are here. Sorry about this mess of paper. That was one thing I certainly didn't rehearse. Okay. And who wants to play finger cymbal? Low demand, high impact gig. Okay. Play this. Whenever the tambourine goes ding like that, and the part where it goes ching like that, and you go like that. Make sense? Okay. Let's refresh. Let's get going with the dance static. Okay. So it's right, left knee up, right, left and front, right, left knee up, and right knee up, and okay, here you go. So, yeah. Keep going. I'm gonna grab a Cisco. And up and right. Okay. Okay. Just got the finger middle. Okay. Just got the tambourine. Okay. So that it's going to go like this. Ding. Okay. Then front. Yeah. Okay. Can you give a little more tap on the tambourine? Okay. Keep going, everybody. Okay. Behind, right, left, and front. Boom. And boom. Down. And boom. Behind. Boom. And front. Left. Ching. So, you guys are a team. Come on over here. You be next to each other. So, just these guys. Right, left behind, right, left in front, right. Ching. Can you do that? Behind, right, left in front, right. Okay? So we're going to slow it down, which is a good thing to do with it. This motion is bump. Perfect. Okay. So let's try it again.
Can I create the system the same way so that it's right?
You can do it however you want.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to do is just alert people to the left time. That's always the thing that people get lost in.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So you want to go slightly ahead. Sounds great.
So it's exactly the same thing as you do with my other.
And perfect thinking, because what Pietro is tapped into is we're trying to help the dancers, right? So it's exactly, Pietro's thinking exactly the right way. Okay, so, everybody ready? Okay, let's get this dance step going again. So what now? Okay, the claves are going to come later. Who's got the small one? I got it. I'll do this for you, because I don't want to. You stand next to Pietro. So, and do it when Pietro goes. Okay. So, hold on. You and I are going to come to it later. And the shaker too. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to build up a pattern. We need to first solidify this thing that we're doing right now. Okay. So let's go. 2, 3, 4. Right. Okay, everybody got that? So now let's sing. Without moving for a second, so that we can get the instrument part going without the feet confusing us. Okay, what we're going to do now is let's just get the pattern going without the feet. So it's boom, you know what we have to do with the feet. All right, so let's get the pattern going again. Boom. Keep going. Correct. Okay, great. Verse 1, no shakers, no claves, but everybody else, okay? Verse 2, the shakers come in, okay? You guys are the sugar on this thing. Pour a little sugar on in verse 2. When the spice comes with the claves, right, the next time. But the idea is, what we're doing is, each element has the capacity to confuse us a little bit. So we're building up a little bit at a time, right? Okay. So, and notice that although Javier's part is only 2 notes, the second note is between its bum, 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 bum. It's actually the most syncopated of anything anybody is doing, all right? That's why we're holding that back until last, because it's actually rhythmically complex. So we need to really get the groove really rocking and solid before we start playing it, okay? So, everybody know where they come in? The shakers hold off until verse 2. And then Javier comes in with the claves, verse 3, okay?
You know, we do get faster as we go along.
We can do that.
You're going to
We can do that. We can accommodate that, okay? All right. So, and singers, if you can help bring that about by sort of pushing it, if you will. Okay. So, all right, everybody ready? Let's get the dance step going first. Okay. left behind, left in front. Okay, so everybody's playing a fairly simple part, but notice how hard it is to really integrate. I mean, we probably really aren't yet at the place where we are drumming as well as the congregation is singing. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so that means get together and drum together, right? Get together outside of the service and jam, you know, and take turns. You know, okay, I'll play the drum this time, or you play the shaker, or I know, let's try this, or whatever. Work together and become a, you know, try to become a sort of a solid unit. And maybe you'll find that certain people are really good on certain things, and they want to do that for a while, and then after a while they sort of like, you know, I want to branch out and try something else, whatever. But I mean, it's up to you guys who are showing up and doing it. But for starters, I would say, come to church a little early. Go to Sanford. Say, hey, man, what are we singing this week? And think about what you might play with it. And as you think about what you might play, I recommend that you do this as you're sculpting the part out, right? What time is it? 7:08. We have a little time left. Yeah, the sistrum is a really unnatural instrument.
You know, in Ethiopia, they play them up there, real full,
Right.
they march like that, a whole
Right.
bunch of them, all the priests.
This is the kind of instrument. You know what? We got a bunch of these sistra. Let's get like 5 of these things out here for a second. How many sisters? How many sisters are taking? Somebody else take one. You take one. Right, yeah. You can, but it just takes a little bit of looseness in the wrist to pull it off. Well, that's good. It also depends on how many jinglers you get on it. This is a good one. That one you hear. Oh, that one works. Yeah, that's let's see what Ellen was describing when she saw in Ethiopia, okay? Great, you take it. Just everybody join in. Clue into each other. I'm not going to say who's the leader, but everybody just sort of get a clue in. We're going to stand here so you guys are playing it together.
I'm supposed to be saying together?
That's great. That's a cool sound. When you get a bunch of them together like that, that's a really cool sound. And one thing that's really, important with the drums is like there are certain combinations that work really well and others that are not as great. Lots of sistra at the same time, you can put that on your sounds really cool list. And then other things, you experiment around and they don't work out so well. Does anybody have any questions?
So one of the things I noticed about what you're doing is everybody's doing something different, but it's very simple.
Right.
And what I've noticed, most of us who don't get there, so
Right.
practice is that everybody ends up doing the same thing.
Uh-huh.
And this also used to be true. We used to years ago have a service called even drum. We all get together, we all end up doing the same rhythm primarily. And so do you have any suggestions on how to promote diversity and
So one thing, let's all put down the drums for a second. Put down the instruments for a second. You got to take turns, and okay, it's sort of like this. Everybody go shik, 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 shik. We're gonna take turns stepping inside and clapping our hands in a little improv. Next. It takes a little bit of eye contact and like, okay, you, me, and you are holding down the fort. You go. Okay, do your thing. And there's a lot of generosity involved in drumming. You've really got to you've got to provide support and give space and make drumming get out of the way. And you've got to know that doing that is a really valuable and important thing. Drummers are like goldies, right? We've got the weird equipment. And we're doing something that doesn't necessarily show up on the highlight reels, but it's vital to musical victory, right? I mean, we've got to sort of be so much of a taker as a giver. And in this case, giving means, ducking out of the way and letting somebody do something. And then the person who's doing something is like, okay, I have my turn. Now I'm going to back off and see if there's something else that's going to happen, right? So one thing that's important is eye contact. Another thing that might be important is maybe all the drummers get together and be together in the procession.
That usually happens because we're usually right up around the altar.
Okay, good. So that's a good start because it's like a shoulder tap or whatever. I mean, you guys will learn, you'll just have to develop your own system of communicating. But I mean, it's possible to do. Musicians do it all the time. Any rock band that you see on stage, there's usually a moment, the audience is out there. There's usually a moment where the lead singer is singing and he turns around and goes, and that means we're about to end, right? Okay. It's surreptitious, then that means the drummer's like looking, okay, ready? Okay, and that's the end. Okay, that's eye contact. All right? But all the more reason to be doing something simple. Because now you're adding eye contact and communication into this singing, dancing, drumming, and communicating. So it takes practice and it takes starting simple. I really recommend people get a metronome. What you'll find is the metronome doesn't work at first. Then it slowly gets better. I'm serious. Everybody should go out and get a metronome. It's a really good thing to do. And you don't need the drum at home, although it's great. I mean, I don't know how to use these things, but if you take it home, you'll find that there are all kinds of different sounds you can get out of one drum, right? Get that kind of wooden thing, you can do this. Right? I mean, you can sit home and jam on one of these things. I don't know what the policy is for taking instruments home, but I'm sure something can be arranged. Take it home and get a metronome. Take it home and get a metronome. And then, if you really want to improve and get good, you record yourself. That is that's really painful. That is painful. But, come on, if 3 of you get metronomes and start recording yourselves and listening to yourself, the whole group is going to benefit. Because when the groove is solid, you start feeling it, and then the whole singing, dancing thing really comes alive, right? If we're, oh Jesus, I hope please let the drummers not crash, right? Okay, that shuts it down, doesn't it? Right? That's like kind of taking it in the very opposite direction of what we wanted to do. So the other thing that I'll just repeat is remember that the riverbed should never come above the, dry riverbed is kind of a bummer. Right? So too much drums compared to the singing.